time. This is 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM, New York.
Good afternoon. We have 51 degrees right now at 1 o'clock. I'm Donna Vaughn. And here's what's happening. Trump administration officials now believed to be the target of the gunman that tried to breach the White House Correspondents' Dinner last night in Washington. President Trump was hustled out of the ballroom by the Secret Service when the trouble began, though there are now questions about whether or not security for the event was up to snuff. One person dead, another wounded in a double shooting last night in Alphabet City. Police still looking to hunt down the gunman. Some royal tourists in New York this week. King Charles, and Queen Camilla scheduled to lay a wreath at the September 11th memorial. We'll bring you up to date on that. And it looks like there will be no peace breakthrough this weekend between the U.S. and Iran. Iran's foreign minister leaving Pakistan. President Trump scrapping a trip by his U.S. envoys. Well, the Mets hosting a doubleheader with Colorado today, while the Yankees are at the Astros. By the way, Mets game 1, that's starting at Citi Field a little less than an hour from now. AccuWeather says high 58 today and a bit of late afternoon sunshine as well. Wins News Time 101. Let's get you where you need to go now with Andre Farrow.
And back to Brooklyn and back to the delays, which have been bad, heading over by the Brooklyn Bridge, which is always slow heading westbound by Flushing Avenue. But today it's extra because you have the Brooklyn Half Marathon going on, and Flatbush Avenue is pretty much obsolete from the Brooklyn Bridge down to Prospect Park, round trip for the race. So this is causing extra volume, and it has throughout the morning and now afternoon, traveling towards the Brooklyn Bridge and on the westbound BQE and the inbound Gowanus from 39th Street up to the Brooklyn Bridge is slammed. The Brooklyn Bridge, Brooklyn bound is not good. It's also causing southbound FDR delays on the Manhattan side heading towards the Brooklyn Bridge and the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel. You're going to need a lot of time trying to get into Manhattan right now if you're using that as well, which is picking up extra volume. Inbound George Washington Bridge, here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. Solid 40 minutes. Outbound's around the same because of a crash underneath the apartments heading back to New Jersey. The span remains clear. It's getting there, the issue. You have heavy delays on the westbound Cross Bronx, and the inbound Lincoln and Holland are well over 25 minutes. Andre Farrow, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
So what or who was he after? That is the question. After a heavily armed gunman tried to breach security at last night's White House Correspondents' Dinner. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche now says the suspect may have been targeting Trump administration officials, a number of whom were in the Washington Hilton Ballroom when it happened. Blanche joined Face the Nation on CBS this morning.
The FBI worked all night working with local law enforcement, working with the Secret Service. They've executed various search warrants on locations, also on devices that were recovered from the suspect.
And an AP source now says that the suspected gunman called himself, quote, friendly federal assassin in writings. Law enforcement sources have identified him as 31-year-old Cole Allen, a self-described indie game developer from Southern California, according to his LinkedIn profile. He apparently holds 2 college degrees in STEM fields, according to social media posts. And Allen's one-time resume says he's been working as a tutor for a company that offers admissions counseling and test prep for aspiring college students. President Trump was hustled out of the ballroom by the Secret Service when the trouble began and spoke about it at the White House a few hours after that.
Trump, who has already survived 2 assassination attempts, saying this latest incident wouldn't impact whether or not he attends indoor events.
And then you just don't do events. No, I can't do that. I have to, it is what it is. We have to do it.
And acknowledging the state of political violence in the country and calling on Americans to unite.
He also says this is why the White House needs the fancy new ballroom he wants to build, a project that's on hold for now because of a legal challenge. That was correspondent Selena Wong. Now, the fact that someone armed with 2 guns and several knives was able to get so close to the president has raised many questions. ABC News chief investigative reporter Josh Margolin was right there outside the ballroom when it all went down.
Secret Service agents who were there, they were actually, split second fumbling to get their guns out because it's all happening in real time so very quickly. From that point when he gets through and then the Secret Service and law enforcement gets assembled there, gets him stopped, we don't know exactly the full tick-tock of events. That's going to come out, and they said the investigation is continuing. We do know that a Secret Service officer was shot, and he took the bullet round to his vest. So he's going to be okay. The president said that he spoke to him last night.
Now, a number of world leaders were quick to respond and offer support after the incident, like German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, who condemned the violence, saying democracies decide by majorities, quote, not with weapons. Here in New York, both Mayor Mamdani and Governor Hochul expressed relief that the president, the first lady, and other guests were safe. The governor also praising the swift response of law enforcement, as did Senator Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, as well as a number of members of Congress who represent the city. Well, a city Department of Education employee now under arrest for allegedly sexually assaulting a 17-year-old girl. Last week, it happened inside the Bronx School for Law, Government, and Justice, authorities say. According to police, 44-year-old Raheem Logue pushed the girl down on a desk, rubbed himself against her. The two were alone in an empty office. It happened, and when it happened, 10:30 in the morning during the school day on Thursday. Logue is charged with sex abuse and forcible touching. The City Department of Education says the allegations are serious and deeply disturbing, and that Logue has been suspended without pay and will be fired if the claims are confirmed. They did not say what role he has at the school, but he was previously listed as a dean on the school's website. Recent reports that President Trump wanted Penn Station named after him in exchange for freeing up funding for its redevelopment has lawmakers pushing for transparency for the project.
If New Yorkers aren't at the table, we're probably on the menu. That word from elected officials, some sounding the alarm about President Trump's Penn Station plans, like Congressman Gerald Nadler.
The project could cost $7 billion. Someone's getting stuck with that bill. It won't be Donald Trump. It will be us.
He says lawmakers, New Yorkers, even the MTA being priced out.
No public hearing, no cost estimates shared, no RFP release.
And Nadler also announcing new legislation that'll
ban Donald Trump's name from being placed on any federal building, anywhere in the United States.
Again, they say we need to be at the table, not as the food. Amanda Alexander, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM at Penn Station.
Well, a double shooting late last night in Alphabet City. One victim dead, the other hospitalized, and a third man on the run. Investigators say the three got into some kind of dispute inside the Sal Deli on Avenue B. And after it spilled out onto the sidewalk, one of them pulled a gun and shot the other two. The suspect was long gone by the time police arrived. The victims, both 28 years old. The survivor is now in stable condition. Well, New York City getting ready for some royal visitors. Britain's King Charles due for a stop in the 5 boroughs this week when he travels to the U.S. to mark America's 250th birthday. He and Queen Camilla scheduled to lay a wreath at the September 11th memorial during a commemoration of the attacks. Mayor Mamdani will join them. British Ambassador to the U.S., Christian Turner, was on CBS's Face the Nation.
It's going to be an extraordinary 3 or 4 days for us, Margaret. We've been planning this visit for years, really. It's the 250th between our two countries. I'm in a somber background after last night for all of us, but I still hope we'll be able to showcase this moment and make it the celebration that it deserves to be.
British officials say security arrangements were already tight, but they're assessing whether additional safety measures are necessary after the incident at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Now, other highlights of the royal trip will include a star-studded dinner at the White House and a speech to a joint meeting of Congress as well. We have clouds and 53 degrees right now in Midtown. Traffic in the full AccuWeather forecast next. Now, just ahead here on 1010 Wins, no peace yet in the Middle East, which means no relief for us from gas prices. More on that just ahead, but first, Wins Nissan 111. Let's get you where you need to go with Andre Farrow.
And back to the George Washington Bridge we go. We're still working on a crash underneath the apartments heading back to New Jersey. It looks like it has cleared, but what hasn't cleared is the residual delays. That's what I should say. And you have delays that go back to the Bronx River Parkway. So again, you need a little extra time heading back to New Jersey. But inbound George Washington Bridge remains a very tough go. You're looking at 15 minutes at least. Even the eastbound side of 46, usually a good cut through, is very slow over by Main Street through Fort Lee, and the southbound Palisades ramp is also backed up, but a good way to cut through as well. Now, the inbound Lincoln's going to cost you 15, about the same as the Holland. It's been slow on 139 eastbound through Jersey City. Inbound Gowanus is just brutal in Brooklyn. From that area of 39th Street up to the Brooklyn Bridge, you have the half marathon going on. That's been causing a headache and a half. If you're traveling westbound across the Kosciuszko from the LIE to the Willie B, and then more delays over by Flushing Avenue, and Flatbush Avenue is closed heading towards the Prospect Park, so you're dealing with extra volume there and a diversion in place. Andre Farrow, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
Now the AccuWeather forecast. It is time for meteorologist Brian Thompson.
Yeah, Donna, brightening up across the area right now. We had a lot of clouds to start the day, but we're drying out pretty nicely, and most areas now seeing some sunshine. But the farther south you go, especially toward the Jersey Shore, still pretty overcast at this hour, but we'll see some sunshine at times through the afternoon. The high temperature up to about 58. Not a warm day for this time of year, but a big improvement over yesterday afternoon when we were in the low to mid 40s with that rain. And clearing out tonight, low 46. It'll warm up nicely tomorrow. Just a fantastic spring day. Lots of sunshine, high 66. Some early sunshine will give way to more clouds on Tuesday, high 65. And more clouds into Wednesday will be the chance for an afternoon shower. High temperature near 60, and we do expect some rain heading into Wednesday night and early Thursday. Right now we have a partly sunny sky. It's 53 degrees. In Midtown, we're going up to 58. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Brian Thompson on New York's weather station. 1010 winds on 92.3 FM.
Well, the odds of a peace breakthrough between the U.S. and Iran this weekend appear to be slim to none. Iran's foreign minister flying back from mediation talks in Pakistan before the U.S. team even got there, leading President Trump to scrap the trip by his envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. Full-scale fighting still appears to be paused by the ceasefire, but without a peace agreement. The Strait of Hormuz remains largely closed by Iran. That means no end in sight to high oil and gas prices, which have fueled worldwide inflation and economic pain. The U.S. military also continues to enforce a blockade of Iranian ports, though some oil tankers appear to have gotten past it anywhere. Well, as we said, the cost of oil continues to soar after the Iran war did a number on it.
When you look at that national average for a gallon of gas, $4.07, up $1.13 since the start of the war. If we see oil around this level for a year, Moody's Analytics says it's going to cost the typical American household an extra $1,400 in gas and diesel costs. And these higher prices, George, really do disproportionately hit lower income families. They spend 4 times more on gas than the highest income households.
And that is correspondent Elizabeth Chelsea. Well, we've got lower 50s right now and cloudy skies in Midtown. Well, the last dance for the largest powwow for members of indigenous North American tribes. The final gathering of nations is underway in New Mexico.
Our relatives here today are going to close us out here at this last dance, the gathering of nations.
Why it's the last is something of a mystery. This after 43 years celebrating chants, dance, and drums, food, and handcrafted items and other aspects of indigenous tribes, including the Miss Indian World pageant. There has been criticism about it being commercial, some said exploitative. Founder Derek Matthews pushed back on that in 2024.
It was all for the people, for everyone.
For the 100,000 people this year, joy and a bittersweet ending.
And that is correspondent Michael Toscano with that report. High winds disrupting the annual Stagecoach Festival in the desert in California.